first time in my life, I know exactly who I am.
Y'all, we're back for this finale of the Mayfair Witches. I'm trying to remember the title of this. Hold on.
Some old mess.
What rough beast?
Yeah.
That's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta talk about this with my partner in crime, King. Hey.
Hey. You
I
good?
am a little I'm processing, and I'm not too happy. So, Keem, if you want to give us a rundown of what happened on this episode so we can get into the review portion.
All right.
And the season as a whole.
Yeah, right. So boom, some old craziness. Number one, we start the show. We don't even get to see what happened to Lil Cuz. We just see Rowan chasing the morgue technician through the woods, and all of a sudden, Lasher pops up like she ain't been calling him for a minute, and he's like, "Hey, you called on me. You want me to do this stuff? Let me do this." So she's like, "All right, go get him." So he sets the little shed that the guy was hiding in, and he sets it on fire. That's the end of that. From there, we get taken on this weird journey. I'm just gonna stay with Rowan and Lasher for a minute, where she's dying, basically. She's bleeding out in the woods, and he's like, "Look deep inside yourself." And then all of a sudden she's in like tree roots, and there's all kinds of hieroglyphs and writing and stuff, and she's walking through, and she ends up in the room where it all started, like Susan's hut. And from she's looking at all the writing and stuff, and Lasher is basically like, "The power's in you," and so she's like, "What?" And she heals herself, and then they bone, which is just meh. And she wakes up in the morning and he's gone. Shocker.
Talk about a one night stand with
right,
a ghost. How are you gonna do a one night stand with? Okay.
A one night stand with a ghost, and now you're Eskimo sisters with your mom. It's just weird. It's weird and nasty and ugh. Anywho, she wakes up. She's all, Lasher, where you at, boo? Because now they're on the same page or whatever. But she's pregnant, and she's like pregnant, like. She was pregnant when she went into the thing, but now she's like showing, and it's real. It's a thing. So he basically takes her on this almost like scavenger hunt, like go through the realm, the lives of your foremothers and mothers and all of that stuff. And so she's like walking through these rooms, and those are the background is fading. And ultimately she makes it to her own mother, who's like, "It's the witching hour, and now the prophecy can be fulfilled, and Lasher can like be embodied." And she's like, "How he gonna do that?" And the mom is like looking at her stomach like, "It's your baby. He's coming out that way." And so, at first she's like, "Oh, hell no. But it's too late. Meanwhile, while all of this is like happening in some kind of like mental nether realm, Cortland has found her and dragged her to the sacred family mausoleum so that she can make sure that the prophecy is complete, because she like gives birth to the reincarnation of Lasher over the bones of her ancestors. Then we go to Sip, who is like sitting in his boss's car on the bridge, like, WTF is happening here? Like, this whole time you've been in connections with somebody else. He basically figures out, whole time he thought his boss ain't have no powers. His boss's power is to wipe people's memory. And his boss is about to wipe his memory, but he's like, wait, hold on. You need me. I'm part of the prophecy too. If you wipe my memory, I can't do my part. The prophecy doesn't get fulfilled. You don't get to see all of whatever you're so excited to see. You want to sit back and observe everything. And so his boss is like, okay, well, you got me there. Go help your girl. So he starts to go off to try to help her. Meanwhile, his sister is at his apartment rummaging through stuff because she has had the baby. That, you know, she was a surrogate carrying a baby for someone else. She had the baby. Sips was supposed to be there with her. He was not. And so she foolishly calls Talamasca. I remembered. And she's like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to know about this, but I'm really worried about my brother. He has missed some really important obligations. Where is he at? And basically that tips them off that there's a breach. The blind receptionist, who I was really fond of up until this point, did her job and was like, hey, somebody who's not supposed to know about us, they know about us. Go handle it. The boss comes over with the very kind healing woman, and he's like, your brother's fine. I know he's fine because I was just with him. Why don't you sit down, have a little chamomile, we'll talk about it, and then boom, wipes her memory. She's knocked out. And the healing woman is like, why'd you let me see this? And he's like, because I need her to wake up and see you. If she recognizes you, I know my thing didn't work. If she doesn't recognize you, I know it worked. But now, what I don't think, and maybe this won't happen because it was the last episode of the season, but I feel like he's going to wipe her memory too at some point. Like
that seemed to be the implication from what she was saying, which
yeah. So he's like, I'm glad you understand. And she's like, word. Meanwhile, JoJo is, we see her talking to her dad. She's on the phone and he's like, what? Where's Rowan? And she's like, Tessa is dead. And he's like, I don't care about Tessa. Like, don't nobody care about Tessa. She's not the chosen one. Where is Rowan? And so now JoJo was like, dude, what is the deal? I get it. I know she's the 13th and all of that stuff, but like, you are really into her in a really freaky kind of way. And you need to tell me what's up. And she tries to like do the loving daughter thing. She kneels down. She puts her hands on his knees. And, you know, she's like, tell me, Dad, I share all my secrets with you. You share your secrets with me. And he's like, get off me, heifer. And jumps up and like makes a phone call to figure out where is Rowan. So she's like fed up with him. So she storms out. He's making his calls. Eventually Sips makes it over to their house. He sees JoJo sitting outside on the steps like, I don't know what to do with this man. I don't want to talk to him anymore. They had like, he's like, look, I'm here to help. And she's like, oh, you're here for Rowan too, huh? And he's like, yes, I am. So they go in the house. I guess JoJo goes to see if her dad is in the house or figure out where he is. Sips he takes his glove off and he starts touching different things. So he's like touching artifacts of all of the ancestresses. It's not a word, but we're going to make it a thing for right now. All the ancestresses of Rowan. And he's like seeing little glimpses of their lives and stuff that happen. He sees the prophecy about the 13th witch being the gateway for Lasher to be re-embodied. And then he touches the mask that Cortland wore the night that Rowan's mom got pregnant. And so he sees Cortland strangle and maybe break the neck of the guy that took his niece's virginity. And then we see him tiptoe into, is it Joanne? Deirdre's room, tiptoe into Deirdre's room. And he's kind of like stroking her hair. It's really weird. It's really creepy because, dude, it's your niece. But yeah, he like puts the mask down and starts like wiping his hands off. Like, I want no parts of this. But JoJo sees him. She's like, I know that look, you saw something. Now you got to tell me. And he's like, dude, Rowan's your cousin and she's your sister because your dad is her dad. And she's like, my dad would not do that. He's like, all right. Okay, you asked. I told you. So now JoJo is just in like shock, like, how could he? Oh my gosh. And then she starts like putting everything together, like the little calculations happening in her head. Like, that's how she had my dress on the day that she died, because she came over here and asked him for help and he killed her. And then Sip's boss came in as a favor and wiped everything clean so that nobody could see like who the killer was. Yeah, so then Sips figures out where this prophecy is going to be fulfilled. It's going to be fulfilled at the mausoleum, where all of the ancestresses' bones are. So he makes his way out there. He's calling his boss. He's like, I got to intervene. And the boss is like, don't intervene. But he's like, well, what if we had baby Lasher? Then we could watch him grow up. Wouldn't that be cool? That's all the observation you need. And his boss is like, okay, do it. You know what? Grab Sip's sister because she's lactating. We're going to need his breast milk. Let's go. So we get back to the mausoleum where Rowan is laying on, does not look very comfortable, but like a little mausoleum death bed thing. Susan pops up like, what up, girl? I'm your great times 12 grandma. And I'm here as a ghost to deliver this baby for you. And, she's like, just let it happen. We're here now. So Rowan gives birth to this baby as Cortland is kind of in the background, being his usual creeper self. She gives birth to the baby. She starts to hold it, and Susan is like, look in his eyes, bond with him. His power is your power. It's all good. But then the baby's face starts doing like this weird, kind of like in Total Recall, the original Total Recall, when Arnold Schwarzenegger like went out into the Mars atmosphere and his face was, yeah, that thing. So she like puts the baby down like, no, this ain't me. This is weird. And she tries to run away, but the baby, like all of the morphing of his face and stuff, the baby was actually growing a little bit. So now he's gone from newborn to actually crawling. He's crawling through the hallways. Cortland comes and he's like, well, if you don't want the baby, I'll take the baby. And Rowan is like, absolutely not. No, get away from him. And he's like, you don't want the baby. You can go back to doing medicine or whatever. I know how to deal with them. I'll take them. And she's like, no, get away from my kid. So she picks him up and, she's like, check my resume. I have killed men, birds, like heifers and shut down warehouses that were trying to kill my little cousin. I mean, they ultimately succeeded, but she died too. So there's that. And he's like, I mean, I'm dying anyway, so go ahead and kill me. So, she does her little stare thing and nothing happens. And he's like, I've been helping Lasher all this time. And in return for this reward, he's given me immortality. You can't do shit. So she's like, oh yeah, I know what Lasher knows. And I know what you did to my mother. Nasty ass. So he's immortal in stone. So she had her little Gorgon moment there, turned him to stone, walked out. Sips runs up like, babe, who this? And she's like, this is my baby. And he's like, our baby. And she's like, sure, our baby. And so he thinks that he's going to put a little razzle dazzle on it, like, let me carry our baby. You just had him. You're tired. Let me help. But at this point, she can kind of cut through everything with her brain. And she's like, that's Talamasca in the car with you, ain't it? And he's like, no, it's just a very random person that helped me find you. Nothing to do with Talamasca. And so she kind of did like a old West thing, but with lightning, where like, you know, in the old Westerns, they would shoot at their feet and be like, dance, dance. So she's just like shooting lightning at his feet. And he's like, hey, what is this? And she's like, nah, I'm good. We're going to do it. I will be a strong Black mother by myself. Not really a Black mother, but
Black mother.
And she turns around with the baby on her hip and wearing Susan's old like rag dress thing. And she's basically walking off through the cemetery / woods barefoot. And that's where we end.
Where are we going? With what transportation? Can we teleport now?
Maybe she can teleport. Maybe she's going to ride like a lightning bolt somewhere. Maybe Lasher is going to get big enough and she can like ride him like a little pony or something. I don't know. It was all
it was riding him earlier this episode. So.
She was riding him earlier in the episode and it was all very disturbing. From start to finish, disturbing.
Thank you, Keem, for that lovely summary, because that's pretty much what happened, and it was for the most part trash. And so I want to get your thoughts on this finale and the season leading up to this finale, the characters, and what just give it to me.
You know,
lay it all out.
For 7 episodes, I was heavily invested, like very excited for the next little, hey, you ready to watch the next episode? I'm like, let's do it. I need to see where this is going. And then they take us here. The hell is this? It's like the guy that you've been flirting with forever, and then y'all like finally have some alone time, and you're like, well, I could have stayed home and had ice cream. This is some old bull. That's what this episode felt like. It felt like this big lead up where you were expecting something like, I mean, things happened. Very weird, again, I say disturbing things happened. But I was just expecting something that was going to, number one, make me excited for like a next season. And it did not. It just kind of left me like, what the hell was this? It felt rushed.
Very, very rushed. I've been giving some passes, and I should not have. As far as this show, it was slow. Don't get it twisted. It was slow. It ramps up around episode 5, and it's like a lot of this stuff that happened in this episode, I should have gotten an episode in the earlier episodes. Like, there are a few things I liked about this episode. The few like times that we got glimpses of the past Mayfair witches, I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that because in the first book, we do get introduced to a lot of Mayfairs. We go through a timeline. Let's meet the other Mayfair witches. Let's see a consistency as far as Lasher's presence in their lives, and as well as just seeing his manipulation over the years. Why couldn't we get that? I'm not understanding. In the birth scene, that did not happen in the books. It was way more bloody. And Rowan was connected to the baby. She was actually looking forward to this baby. She was looking forward to this baby with Michael, who is Cyprian in the show. And she was on a rampage when she realized what Lasher was trying to do. He took the soul of her baby. I'm getting spoiled here. So I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding why we got what we got. Now, granted, Cortland was definitely a good villain. I'll give him that. Creepy, yes. I feel like Julian was just as creepy. There was this weird section, if I can recall correctly, that was that it was towing the line. I don't care what no one says. Anne Rice was towing the line on a lot of her books. This series in particular. So for people that are like, oh well, it didn't happen. No. She told the line. She definitely told the line. That's why I read the series once.
And we were like,
so for the record, I need to reread this series. And I got the book from the library because it's free. And so I'm going to eventually read it. And I'm probably going to be even more pissed as I'm rereading this based on what happened on the show. Because I've been watching other YouTubers that have been reviewing this show, and they have not been happy about this show like at all. Or there have been a few people that have liked it, but the consensus is it was slow in the beginning. It was slow. Like Dragon, like you're trying to build so much mystery, and it didn't pay off. It didn't.
Not in the end. Like I was okay with it being slow at the beginning because they kept giving us little clues and, just little, flashing to something and the camera staying on it for just a second longer than it needed to. And so then you're like, okay, something's going to happen. Like the birth control pill, something is going to happen with that. But it like you said, it didn't pay off. It feels like they were going somewhere and then they realized they only had 8 episodes. And so then it was just like, okay, just do whatever to wrap this up in episode 8. Like,
I've been having such a hard time with the chemistry between the person that's playing Lasher and the person that's playing Rowan. And at times, Rowan's acting was a little cringe. But again, I was trying to give some leeway here. But, okay. See, the thing with Alexandra Daddario, I have not seen White Lotus. I've heard good things about it. But I remember how she played Annabelle from Percy Jackson. Annabelle from Percy Jackson, as a young kid, of course, but Rowan, reminded me of Rowan in The Witching Hour, or her personality. She was a lot stronger. She wasn't, at times, she doesn't seem so sure of herself, when I feel like, from what I remember, Rowan was very sure of herself. And so to see this different version of her, again, I was trying to give leeway just because of the story they were trying to tell. And because sometimes when you feel like you don't have an identity, there are different ways you can approach it. Or you feel like there's something missing. There are different ways to approach it. And it didn't pay off for me. And again, her catapulting and just like her acquiescing to what she has with this baby, when that's not what happened in the book, that irks my soul. And it's like they're afraid to go. They kind of told the line a little bit when it comes to the incest part of it, but they're not towing the line when it comes to Lasher. Lasher is a lot worse. And if they go that, and maybe they're gonna do it in the second season, but because they didn't give me enough of it in the first season, I feel like they're gonna chicken out unless we get a different showrunner. 1, 2, I feel like they I'm running here. I feel like I'm
enjoying it. I'm just like, go on.
I just feel like, from the chemistry between the characters, like I never believed Cyprian and Rowan's romance. Like I didn't. There wasn't enough time. You rushed it. In the books, they were already together, but at least you saw kind of how they got together, and you felt their connection, and that even with Lasher manipulating situations, she was still loyal to Michael and with the life that they had. And Temptation, yes, but it wasn't, at least from what I remember. And Michael, I felt like, was a little more confident. Talamasca was a little more confident. Now there is they are giving hints of the second and third book with the rogue lead agent. So I did appreciate that. And him just trying to what do you call it? Make sure he isn't missing any steps for his agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I'll give him that. We shouldn't have gotten the witch hunters if that was the case. There are so many different ways they could have approached this. Like, there were villains like Cortland, like Lasher, like the Talamasca agent, and there's no connection between Interview with the Vampire and the Mayfair Witches. And I know there is because of the organization. But if you haven't read the books, you wouldn't know that. Where is the connection? If you're going to be emerging the two worlds together, you got to give us hints. The only hint that we got was from Interview with the Vampire, which is a way better show. I implore you to watch it when you get a chance, King. It will be a difference between night and day. The chemistry, the way they told the story, just even the changes. My only gripe is with Interview with the Vampire is the stat toes the line that I feel like was kind of not necessary, because I'm like, how are you going to redeem this character when he is the star of the show? He is the star vampire. He is featured in several of the Vampire Chronicle books. He is the main character in a lot of these books. Like, I'm waiting for them to finish with Interview with the Vampire so we can get into the Vampire Lestat. That's when I fell in love with him, and that's when I feel like everyone else who hasn't read the books or has only known him from Interview with the Vampire. Yeah. And then he makes cameo appearances. Again, the connection. I need that connection. Where is it? I need it.
Give her her damn connection.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I was like, give her damn connection.
Yeah. Give me the connection. Give me a better story. I tried. I mean, what they did with Carlotta was good. Enough, anyway, with what they were given. Again, Cortland. They did give me Lasher in the sense that he was annoying. I remember feeling annoyed by him in the books too. So, okay, fine. Again, there's just a lot of things that they rushed they didn't need to rush.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I think there's something to be said, like with Game of Thrones, where there's a set of books that already has a strong following, and they come in, and you don't want to have everything just like the books, right? Because I don't know why they do it that way, because there's a lot of times when I read a book and I just want to see that book come to life. Like with The Secret Life of Bees, I feel like they followed the book very closely, and I appreciated that. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, they did not, and I was very pissed. And Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. So, but then like with this and with Game of Thrones, like they want to give the viewer something new. So if you read the book, they don't want you to be able to predict every little thing that's going to happen. So they want to like switch things up and have a shocker. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily work. And in this case, it didn't, because I mean, I haven't read the books, but it seems to me that you enjoyed the books far more than you enjoyed the show. And everything just felt so scrunched together. Maybe if they had more episodes to flesh stuff out a little bit more, but I'm still confused on the timeline. Like I still don't know what was happening there.
Yeah, the way that they progressed time on the show wasn't great either, because again, I feel like she didn't I don't know if it was exactly 9 months, but it was closer to what they did here. Again, they rushed things.
Yeah.
And
yeah. She had that baby in 5 hours. Like she was like, I'm pregnant. And then she got shot. And then she went through a couple of different rooms, seeing some of her great grands, and all of a sudden it was time. It was go time. So yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason I can think of the way why they didn't do the birth scene from the book is probably because it's traumatizing. I remember reading it and I was like, whoa, that is heavy. Ooh, ooh, alrighty. Let me process this for a minute. So, and so I get it. At the same time, you got to give it to me. You could have shortened it. I just don't remember an ancestor helping her birth thing in a mausoleum, no less.
Yeah. And then like when it shows from her perspective, you see Susan there, but when it shows from another perspective, it's just a pregnant woman pushing by herself in a mausoleum.
Yeah, so I was confused by this too. So I was confused as to when she got out of the dream state after giving birth. Because it just seemed like with Cortland, it was kind of like he was watching and then did she wake up? It just seemed like she was still in the dream because she was dressed as she was in the dream versus what she was wearing. So I am confused.
It's weird.
Is that part of Lasher? Like what?
It's like one of it's like Nightmare on Elm Street, where they like one of the last movies they snatched him out of the dream world and brought him into the real world to like beat the shit out of him. But yeah, like 1 minute she had on regular clothes, and I don't know if it was Cortland that put the clothes on her, because remember he dragged her from that spot to the car and then put her in the back seat super dirty, but then got in the front seat of his Jag and was like, not my interior, like cleans his hands up and stuff like that. So maybe he did it, or I don't know. I guess that's one of the areas where they just expect you to suspend all disbelief and then just be like, magic. That's how the dress got there. Magic. But she did wake up from that dream state in the mausoleum. So she was still like wandering through when she was in the back seat of the car, and then he like got her onto the little table thing, and then that's when she woke up and Susan was there. But it just, none of it made any sense. It didn't flow well to me. It just, I could have been napping. I could have been watching Green Lantern, I guess, which was actually a pretty good animated film. But yeah,
Yeah, so I was trying to, I don't know why I showed that, but I was trying to show, because this show has reminded me of creepy movies, creepy incestuous related kind of situations. And because we compared it to Entity initially, right? And now I'm reminded of another movie. If I can get this right, fingers crossed, y'all.
It's Lasher.
No. There it is. Which I was trying to share in the first place. This movie right here, starring Matt Smith and Eva Green, called Womb. This movie is about,
I did see that. I remember being so excited because I was like, "Ooh, it's the doctor." And then I watched it and I was like, "What?"
Okay, so I saw this randomly on cable. And I was like, "Oh, Eva Green, Matt Smith, okay, sweet." And then I started really watching. Or no, wait. I was doing something, so I saved it because I had DVR at the time. So I was like, well, let me hurry up and save this movie and I'll watch it later. So I watched it later. And the entire time, I'm like, what am I watching? What is this? Why is this woman, she can't take grief, So she clones her husband, watches this boy grow up to look like her husband, so she can be with him.
Just, I know it's a metaphor for something, and probably for, I mean, we've seen situations where moms really put a lot of husband duty, not that duty, but a lot of husbandly responsibilities on their kids, on their sons, like expect them to take care of them for the rest of their lives and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I know you got a wife, but I'm still coming, that's still that kind of thing. Yeah, but it's all just weird.
Yeah, the only thing was this was kind of like the opposite, because before he became a baby, he was like a ghost and they were like humping. Ironically, I felt more chemistry between them in this episode than I have the entire season.
Maybe because they were actually like touching and stuff. I don't know. It just grossed me out.
It was still gross. Don't get it twisted.
It just really, maybe I couldn't feel the chemistry because I was like, word? You know that was your mama's boyfriend, right? Like, and you got some other dude's baby in you right now. And seriously?
Oh, and another thing that irked my soul, that was not a mixed baby. But I guess because since Lasher took control of it, it was a moot point. I'm just like, you couldn't let him be a little, like, just a little. I think he was like super light.
They were, something with the hair was
they did something with the hair.
Yeah, but
I was like, dang, you ain't see sipping none of that, baby.
No, it was just, girl, that man came in you, then came out of you. None of it sits right with me. And I guess I didn't have as much of a qualm with Rowan and Sip's relationship because there was this article or this study or something, and I may have said this before. Sorry, y'all, if I did. I'm old. I forget stuff that I say. It's basically like a list of questions that you could ask someone, and you two could like go back and forth and answer these questions, and you would form an automatic bond. They said fall in love. I'm not going to go that far, but you would form an automatic bond based off of these particular questions, which would make you really vulnerable very quickly. So I see two kind of points of connection for Rowan and Sips. Number one, they are for sure trauma bonded because of all of the stuff that they've gone through this like short period of time. And then number two, when they were in the house thinking that they were just kind of there in solitary bliss, they were talking about like points of vulnerability, traumatizing childhood stories and fond memories and stuff like that. So when they were out of the house, they still remember all of that stuff happened. So I can kind of see how they bonded in that time. But the switch up of Rowan from being like anti-Lasher to, boning him in your great grandma's imaginary hut, just weird. just all sorts of weird.
And at the end of the day, Cortland notwithstanding, Cortland was technically also manipulated at this point because he was promised something from Lasher, and so he did what he had to do. Granted, it wasn't a good thing. It was outright evil. Like he pretty much killed like his own baby mama / niece. And I feel like he would have killed her and just taken the baby.
Yeah, because all he wants is the power that Lasher gives.
Yeah,
that's it. He's never cared about anybody for anything else. Like that's all he wants is immortality, which, generals, he got it, just in a different form, like not not exactly what he wished for, but
Mm-hmm.
he is immortalized in stone.
Oh, I did think that was ironic, considering he was also on Clash of the Titans. That's, I think, my favorite version.
He was.
He was. He
That's
was.
right. He was oh
Yeah.
boy, yeah, with the
Yeah.
sandals.
Yeah. He was the main character. It's drawing a blank on me as far as the character name, but yeah, that was him.
Yeah. Perseus?
Perseus.
Hercules?
Was it Perseus?
I know, like the newer Clash of the Titan was Perseus.
Was it Perseus?
I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, please look that up.
Because if it was me watching this and I knew the answer, I would be yelling at the screen right now.
So I did appreciate that low-key nod. I was like, okay, I see y'all.
Mm-hmm. Turns him right into stone.
Right?
Perseus, yes, Perseus.
Yeah, he was Perseus. Okay. Yeah. So, guys, I think because of the universe that they're trying to create, I'm probably still going to watch season 2, but I may hate watch it unless they correct the errors that have occurred in season 1. If they can give me a better paced story and obviously connect the two universes, can we do that, please? And I mean, we got the actors that we got, so I mean, I gotta live with them. It's funny because Cyprian is the combination of two characters, and because their connection is pretty much a trauma bond, it just makes me wonder if now they're kind of like switching it to more of the other person that he's combined with, based on her reaction, based on the direction. I don't like it regardless, but I'm just wondering if that was their thought process, and to give her the motivation to just stick with Lasher versus what really happened in the book. And then Cyprian turning to someone. They did my girl Tessa dirty. You didn't even see her be dead or for sure dead. There wasn't a conversation. There just wasn't anything. The way that they jumped into this episode, I didn't like either. That was just foul. If you're gonna jump into the episode, let's jump literally where we left off. Her calling for him, her trying to hold, because he could have saved her. He could have saved Tessa for real.
At several points.
At several points here. It's kind of like she forgot all about that because of her being pregnant and her like having that weird ass connection to Lasher. Like it was just, I mean, I understood Cortland because of his motivations. And JoJo. So we didn't really touch on too much the conversation that she had with Dolly Jean. I think that's the auntie's name. I think we probably got auntie's name. But she's like, well, someone else needs to take charge. Well, I mean, you're going to have to take charge anyway because your daddy dead or turned stone. So it's kind of like I would have wanted that confrontation with her and Cortland too, but we ain't even get, you know what?
None of it.
No. You had to give JoJo just a little more this episode, but not enough. 1, 2, you give her these powers, and you're telling me she couldn't predict none of this?
Could not see any of it happening.
She didn't have the foresight for any of this?
Giving her dad the heads up on stuff for years, which is how he's like amassed.
Well, but at the same time, still, with everything else that's going on, you tell me you have no clue? Or is that something that Lasher can help block?
Maybe he masked it from her. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'll just say I'll watch it if you watch it next season, but if not, I
don't know if I'm going to be reviewing it, but or at least we may do like a series. We may do like a series review, but as far as like a weekly thing, it's going to have to be up in the air.
Yeah.
We'll play it by ear. How about that?
That's fair. We will.
But I am hoping that if Sam does like a group discussion of Interview with Vampire, I'll be on that. Like,
I want Sam.
Yeah, I should hopefully be graduated by then, so I'll have like
time. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely when you can, please watch Interview with Vampire.
I will do that. I think it's supposed to snow on Saturday, so if that happens, maybe I'll start it.
You can definitely binge watch it and be happy, and let me know. Just let us know. That. Send me a message. So thanks, guys, for sticking it with us. We may see you next year. I mean, you'll see us in another review at some point in the near future. We just don't know what we're doing yet, but I think I have a few in the pipeline. But definitely check out the fellas as they are reviewing Last of Us. That should be wrapping up. I think they have like 2 more episodes left on that, and then of course the live discussions for that, and of course the movies that have been popping up like Ant-Man and Creed. That'll be premiering tomorrow. By the time this airs, or it'll already be available. But anywho, definitely check out the rest of the YouTube channel, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of when new videos pop up for Team JVS, and we will catch you next time. Oh shoot, we get the outro ready.
Oh,
before we say bye. I keep on forgetting. I'm just so in it.
Wait. Let me know.
Wait. Okay, we're gonna be doing bye.
Falling out the top of the I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind. Oh Lord.